Hey everybody, I thought something fun to do might be to cover my FEGVE spinner collection. That's spelled F-E-G-V-E. I pronounce that FEGVE. Most of these, and one of the reasons I'm covering these, is most of these can be found on AliExpress still, except for this one. But this I consider to be a set. They're sold separately. You'll often see these three sold under one banner, and then this one sold separately. But the core is the same for each one. These two, I believe they're often sold together under the same store. This one, any of these actually, just do a search for FEGVE spinner, or another popular term in China is fingertip gyro. So you could look for a FEGVE fingertip gyro. And I just thought, stuff that you can find today that you could still buy quickly, well, from China, so, figure 15 to 25 days. But still, like, these are classics, I think, and they're still available. They're still being made, or at least they made so many of them that they still have them for sale. So I just thought it'd be fun to take them apart and show you. These are especially kind of neat because they're modular. These are pretty ordinary, but they're good. They're really good quality. This was a disappointment. I would avoid that one. This was very special. This is a FEGVE Core, C-O-R-E. And this one was previously owned by Ben Co, I believe. His channel on YouTube is The Average Singaporean. So I'm going to link to his. He actually did a review on this very spinner right here. And I'll just link to that so you get some details on it. We might pop it apart a little bit, but at least I'll talk about it, even though this one's not available anymore. So let's get some of these out of the way. And so this is called the FEGVE Air, as far as I can tell. And it's a spinner, but it also comes apart. It comes with a ring bearing, and that can be put in place of the core, and it becomes a ring spinner. And the really interesting thing about this is these little slugs. They're held in by a tiny little ring. I'm going to see if I can get close enough. I doubt you'll be able to see it. There's a tiny metal ring in there, and it can't be more than, a couple thou. There it is. And the groove that ring pops into is very, very small. So it's just a ring, an open-ended ring. It looks like there's a fair gap there, but it's an open-ended ring. It's just the right size and just springy enough so that it stays into this groove without falling out. And it flexes just enough to catch that. And if you're a fidgeter, that's a pretty pleasing thing right there. These are all the same. I thought one day maybe I would either, if I ever get a lathe, I thought that I might make my own different material slugs like copper, brass. But I could easily make my own. You could if you had a lathe. But either way, that's the fidgetability part of it. These other ones they're not really named, I don't think. But the gimmick is that they're modular in a sense that these three arms come off, so you can change it from a tri spinner to a bar spinner, which will do that. And I haven't done that for a long time, but that's the key selling point on that, is that they're modular. You can't take a piece from this one and mix it with a piece from that one, because they're not weighing. They won't weigh the same, and everything will be unbalanced. I think this one's called the Lotus, maybe. I don't know. Does that look like a lotus? But they're all really well made. I believe, we'll crack it open and measure one. I'm not sure if these are R188s or not. I don't think they are. Whoops. I've always liked this one. This one is just mechanically interesting. Been around for a long time, so I don't know if it's worth bringing up prices. I did see recently prices on some of these. So this one would run you right around 80, and each one of these would run right around 50. So they're a little bit on the pricey side, but I think they're worthwhile. So let's just go ahead and pop this one apart. We'll change it from a ring spinner into a we're going to change it from a spinner into a ring spinner. So we'll just take this off first. Always have nice machine buttons. I looked at these, the buttons are all the same. They all say 688, number 4, and I don't know what that designation is, but that's what they all say, at least the male side. The female side, the male side does have this divot here, so you could balance this on a pen or a knife. But you got the locking core there, and that's for the R1. It's not an R180 yet, I can tell you that by looking at it right now. But we'll go ahead and we'll pop that apart just to see. We'll take it out and get a measurement. And like I said, I know it's not an R188, but at least if I measure it here, I can look that up and then throw the designation in later. It's probably a 688, that's my guess. So it's like 11 millimeters diameter outside and about 8 inside, 5 millimeters thick. So I'll look that up later. Again, I'm going to guess that it's a 688. We'll find out. But essentially, that's how you get to the smaller bearing. The larger bearing is going to be put in place of this socket that's in there right now. And you know what, make this a little bit easier, we'll get my trusty, I keep all these, I've got all these keys. Here's the one that goes with all these. It's kind of a nice key there. Well, here, look at that, it says. Okay. Let's find out. So, that's too small. Uh-oh, that gets in the way. That's about the right size there. That says, if you can see on there, 688. So that's a 688. The larger one would be here. I can't get to that because of the way I have this set up. I have to do this by hand, which is fine. This just happens to be the way that I put it together a while back. I haven't had this taken apart for a while. And I wouldn't have put it together in this order. But there you go. So this is what makes up the core of all of these, is the 688 bearing holder. And that would then drop in place here. But we just went through all that work to take that out so that we can put in this bearing, which according to this, which is the bearing tool, we would be using that one. It says a 61803. So likely that's a 61803 bearing. Yeah, there we go. I've had this since I started, probably late 2018, and always enjoyed it. Make sure all these are lined up good. Good. Can I get it past my... Yeah, good. Yeah, I like it at least if I can get it past my knuckle on my pointer finger. Seems like a good place for it. But there you go. That's a ring spinner. Now, what we'll do is we'll get some of this stuff out of the way, and we will turn this from a try into a bar spinner. We'll do that right now. I've got my tool now. This is a unusual screw head for a haptic or a spinner anywhere. It's a flathead screw, and I guess technically speaking it's a 3/32. So we need to get this button out of the way. I'll make it a little bit easier, but it doesn't need to be there anyhow. So we're just going to unscrew very carefully. There we go. Now I just need to take out one more. There was a rumor when I bought this that at one point in time you could get these in titanium. So I don't think that's true. If anybody knows if that's true or not, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know. I've only ever seen brass. Alright, so I guess if we were going to make this into a bar, we would go with that, right? Because that doesn't look right, and that ain't right. That certainly isn't right. You could do that. You could do that. You could do that. You could do that, and that, and that, but obviously we're going to go with that. Doesn't make sense to do it any other way. So there's one screw. And, whoops. There's the two screws. Get this stuff out of the way. Put our buttons back in. Okay. I didn't mention that these are really well balanced. And that's a pretty good test of it too there. Changing it from a tri to a bar spinner. There's a little bit of a vibration. Okay, let's change the other ones up and see what they all look like. So that's that. It was pretty easy. I did have a little trouble there on one of these. What happened was you can only put the screws in one side. They don't go in the other way. And I had it flipped upside down. And it just wasn't going in. So that is, like I said, how that works. These are all pretty nice. And that's it. That's it for these guys. So, like I said, these are all available on AliExpress. These three are usually sold together. This one's sold by itself. Now let's move on to another one. These two here. The red wire that I have in here I put that in myself. It's just insulated solid copper wire that happened to be the right diameter to fit in there, and I just picked red. It kind of goes along with a theme. I have a couple other. These aren't fancy expensive spinners, and I'm not going to put trits in them, and I'm not even going to put fake glowing trits in them, but it did look nice to me to put some of this red wire in there, and then it sort of like matches up with the rest of the collection and stuff. So that's just red wire. These are brass. I believe I'd call that a blasted finish, like a bead blasted finish. And they also have the nice little divot on the back here, so you can do little tricks and get it going and spin it on the tip of your knife or on the tip of a pen. But these are incredibly well balanced. I remember I got these early on, and compared to other ones that I had, it really made a difference. I forget what the price is. I've seen these are still available. I want to say around 40-50 bucks for either one of these. We'll just take one apart and see if these, I think these are R188s. Yeah, I'm almost certain that they are. So you know what, we've already got this tool out. It will work. There we go. I'm a huge fan of bearing retention. I don't like any spinners that have glued or pressed in bearings. I don't collect them. So that definitely is an R188. A little plastic crown in there. But those are both very nice, I think. I won't bother with that. Like I said, solid brass. They have these little stainless steel inserts. Those don't come out, but they're a nice little insert inlay. This one, I would say, just avoid it altogether. It's overpriced for what it is. I think I bought it for around 75, 80. It might be around the same thing. It might be a little bit less, but either way, it's not worth it. They're very sharp edges. The only thing gimmicky about it, I guess, that made it look attractive were the weird buttons here. But it does not come apart in any way. It looks like it might with these 4 screws here. And let's see if those come out or not. I don't think. This might be early enough that they're not even Torx. It's hard to tell. But they don't serve a purpose, which for somebody like me, that's disappointing. No, they are Torx. In fact, they're T8s. Let's just have some fun here. We'll go ahead and take these buttons off first. So that is not an R188. Looks to be the same. Yep, it's going to be a 688. So let's just do this for fun. We'll take out all of these. It won't make any sense to do it, but we'll take all these out. At least I don't think it'll make any sense. I'm pretty sure I did this before. Okay. So to thread that, the brass piece would have had to have been force pressed into the stainless steel piece. Then it would have had to have been drilled to a depth and then tapped to a blind hole depth. And if you were to take this apart and put it back together again, it would be very critical which hole lines up with which hole, because they wouldn't have the same thread going down through them. So it's not going to come apart. I didn't expect it to. Those are just decoration, and a poor decoration at that. Let's see here. I don't need the key to get this one off. If you're into cogs, it didn't have a name, so I'm just going to call this the FEGVE cog. But if you're into cogs, I guess, you know, this might be an interesting piece for you. The inside of the buttons I see here, laser engraved, 688, that would be the bearing size again, number 14. That says the same thing. So, yep, 688. I don't think that one's worth it. So, now, the highlight of the show, I guess, would be the FEGVE core. This is titanium and stainless. I don't know which parts are titanium and stainless. If I had to guess, the buttons are most likely stainless. That would be really hard to machine. the body. These removable plates here, they look like titanium, so I'd say they are. I'm not so sure about the body. Now, when I bought this, it had, Ben had some glass, I believe they were glass vials, but they weren't filled with anything. They weren't glowing. They weren't glow vials. They weren't, this is intended for tritium glow vials, but those are really expensive. And just like me, he put substitutes in there, but his substitute was a dark colored glass. It was spiral shaped too. It kind of looked neat, but I had some copper wire that was just the right diameter, and I thought that stood out really nice. And it actually goes with another one that I have. I did the same. I used the same gauge copper wire as a trit substitute. But yeah, this is the FEGVE core. I'd put it up there with one of my favorites. It's really well balanced. I just love the design and the buttons too. And of course it comes apart, and I love anything that comes apart. That again is going to be another 688 bearing. Let's see if I, oh, that is pretty tight. Well, it doesn't matter which I use as long as I get a flat spot. Here we go. .688. I'm no spinner expert, but I've often heard people always prefer the R188s as opposed to the old 608 skate bearings. But there are people I've heard specifically that prefer these 688s, and I like them too. But I'm no expert. So those are Torx, but they're definitely smaller than a T8. Let's see what I have here. That's the flat head. So we'll go over here. We'll try T7. That's a weird one. There we go. T6. I'll just take this apart, show you what these look like. So there could be potentially 12 tritium vials, and they'd be pretty large ones too. I forget what the dimensions are on this, but we'll just do one side. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there's a place here towards the front to be put in. And if you had the tritium vials, this is especially nice because it involves no gluing whatsoever. That's one thing. If I did have tritium vials, I wouldn't want to do the gluing because that would be a mess. And plus, I don't know if you ever wanted to change them, it'd be hard to get them out. But in this case, if you had different colored trits that are the same size, if you feel like one color one day, you could make it that color and then make it a different color a different day. Be weird like that. There. I remember that being a little tricky to do too. So it's going to take me a couple tries to get that back together. But it will go back together. And we'll save that for another time. So I hope you found that useful. Let me know. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. Thanks for watching. Bye.